5:34 at KPEL. It is Go Acadiana with Ken Romero. Without Dr. John today, he's feeling a bit poorly, so we thought we'd better not have him in here infecting everything. But joining me this afternoon on the phone is Colonel Rob Maness. Good to have you with us.
Oh, thanks for having me on, Ken.
Hey, listen, I tell you what, your candidacy was I think a real hush-hush secret. I don't think anybody guessed you were going to run for the Senate seat, so I'm glad we can talk about it here.
Yeah, well, you guys have been trying to get me to say it for 3 months. I hope Dr. John gets to feeling better.
Yeah, well, he'll be back. It's like a wart. It just keeps coming back. But, we don't pick at it because, as they say, don't pick at it. It won't get well. Anyway, enough of that foolishness. Tell us about your candidacy, why you're doing this. I mean, this would be national prominence for you. And considering you've never held a public office before, this is kind of a big step.
Well, I think it's an important step, and more importantly, I think the American people of Louisiana, they're demanding that outsiders, people that are willing to fight, and people with proven records of real leadership, real-world leadership, take these political office. I think that's the reason why Mr. Donald Trump's doing so well. I think that's probably the reason why Senator Ted Cruz is doing well, is they're considered outsiders. Mm-hmm. And I believe that the time is now for that. Not only because of what the people believe, but because America and Louisiana need that. I'm not a career politician. I'm a career military man. Washington, D.C. is never going to fix itself from the inside. And right now, this race is shaping up like three folks that have climbed the career political ladder and have been in office for almost at minimum 8 years, a total of about 68 years for the three other folks that have declared in this race, and one true political outsider. And I believe that it's important that we have legislators that haven't come up the political ladder, because I believe that that process has actually made our folks worse. And I think you see that in what the American people see and people of Louisiana see with what's been happening in Washington, and now happens at the state level.
Now, you mentioned real world leadership, especially, you've been in the military, which is slightly different than being in a leadership position in the private sector, but it all boils down to be able to lead people to do the job. And like you said, many people that are in Congress have never had an outside job, have got no clue how to manage people, how to manage a budget, and that's quite obvious.
Well, that's right. I have leadership. I'm an experienced commander in peace and war, and I'm not so sure that being a commander of a base that's 53,000 acres and has 23,000 folks living and working on it is that much different than being the CEO or the mayor of CEO of a large company or the mayor of a large, medium-sized city. Sure. And those kind of things. You have to know how to deal with local, state, and federal government agencies and personnel. You have to manage a budget. I've managed a budget of over $260 million a year in my last job in the Air Force. That installation brought $7.2 billion of economic impact directly to the state of New Mexico. That's well documented. And, a wing commander is not going to be able to successfully complete that mission and keep that $7.2 billion going if he or she doesn't understand profit and loss and has a business acumen and an acumen for strategic leadership. But, that's not the real reason why I think most qualified. You can find those qualifications in a lot of folks. But I'll tell you what, I am qualified more than anybody else. I'm a Harvard and U.S. Naval War College trained expert in national security and international relations and foreign policy. No other candidate in this race is going to bring that to the table. I have direct experience at the national and international level working on staffs. I also have something that's really important today in our country, and that's experience being attacked by the enemy. And the enemy is Islamic jihadism. These Islamic jihadist military forces may not be wearing uniforms, but they attacked us on 9/11 when I was in the Pentagon and with my family close by. And they attacked us just recently in San Bernardino. And no matter what the propaganda machine out there, whether you blame it on Barack Obama or the media or whatever says, the truth is the country has had a war declared upon it. We are still at war. We need military experienced commanders to be serving in the United States Senate because it has constitutional impact more than any other legislative body in the country on foreign policy, international relations, through its power to advise and consent on treaties, and most importantly, with its co-power with the House of Representatives to declare war.
Colonel Maness, so many people are, I guess, afraid to have a military person in the Senate or the House or in the presidency because they're afraid that they're soldiers. They always want to go to war. And that's not true. So many soldiers, so many, generals have written, war is just horrible. We have to avoid it at all costs. But if we get involved, we have to win it. And your comments, I think, echo that. And your comments about ISIS that I read earlier, I'd love for you to expound on what you would like to do with ISIS.
Well, Ken, I hate war. I have 3 sons in the military. I've served in the military. I've had to command young Americans in combat operations. I was in the Pentagon on 9/11. I see what war does to military people. I've had to give orders and take actions that resulted in the death and maiming of innocents and the destruction of property. And war is the most despicable thing human beings can do to each other. And the Constitution was written so that the 2 bodies in our government that make up the legislative branch would have the power to declare war because they're closest to the people, and it's the people's sons and daughters that give their blood when the country goes to war. And I think it's just atrocious that our Congress has not had the debate on whether we should actually be at war in Syria and northern Iraq right now. Syria is a sovereign nation, regardless of what's going on within the borders of the nation. Mm-hmm. There's never been an authorization to use military force or a declaration of war for our forces to go in there, and we've been in there in the air and now on the ground for over a year now. And I just think it's terrible because we're putting our people at risk. We don't need our children's lives expended unnecessarily.
Sure.
Now, as far as the IS goes, it's a terrible thing. What's happened, unfortunately, America is weaker militarily than it's ever been before. It's weaker foreign policy-wise than it's ever been before. Quite frankly, our allies just can't trust us anymore, and our enemies certainly don't respect us, and they certainly don't fear us, and that puts us in a bad way. And unfortunately, we need to have that debate on whether we should be at war in Syria so that we can appropriately take care of the Islamic State situation. The Islamic State is now a state that has territory. It has revenue-generating capability through oil exports and taxes on the people. It's managed to gather some limited military capability from the American and Russian resources that were left behind by the Iraqi troops that fled when they came into Mosul.
Sure.
And Ramadi. And it's just terrible because it's now a rising radical state. And if we let it continue in that situation, we have created a regional hegemonic power in Iran that's potentially going to have nuclear weapon capability. And the Islamic State, which is Sunni-based but is extremely radical Islamic jihadists, the most radical and dangerous, aggressive, and oppressive country that will ever have walked the face of the earth, quite frankly, in modern history.
Yep.
And if those two were to somehow come together and form some kind of alliance, the world would, it's already a more dangerous place. Sure. Because America is weak and not leading in the world. And if those two were somehow to be able to come together to form an alliance out of their own best interests, we would be seeing a very, very dangerous situation akin to what happened at the beginning of World War II. And even worse now because we have nuclear weapons. Got to force that debate, get that declaration made one way or the other, and once we do get it made, we need to crush the Islamic State as quickly as we can.
Yeah, whether it's the JV or not, it needs to be taken care of.
It's not the JV anymore.
Definitely not. Colonel Maness, thanks for discussing your candidacy on ISIS, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you in coming months. So thanks for joining us.